So this is the main topic is the Cincinnati Brawl. I don't know if you, I don't, because I know you watch the news here and there, whatever, but have you heard about the street brawl that happened in Cincinnati, Ohio over the weekend?
Vaguely, it's just part of the general background breakdown in law and order.
All right, so I want to play this news clip because it sums it up, and we could talk about it.
New on WWT, viral video shows a fight break out in the middle of the street in downtown Cincinnati. And police chief, state leaders now releasing harsh words for those involved, including the ones who recorded the video instead of jumping in to help or even dialing 911. News 5's Sean McKinnon joining us live outside District 1 headquarters with what we know about the investigation into that video, Sean.
Yeah, council member Mark Jeffrey said this fight happened at 3 a.m. today. We've got new video tonight as police piece together exactly how and why this started, and state lawmakers take notice. A massive fight between more than a dozen people in the middle of the street. At 4th and Elm, just a block uphill from Paycor Stadium. Videos posted online show punches and kicks being thrown, continuing after a man is knocked to the ground. As the fight goes on, videos show a man punching a woman, knocking her unconscious. Chief Teresa Thigi called it a sudden dispute between individuals following a verbal altercation, saying, "I am in complete disgust waking up to the viral video many of you have now seen. The behavior displayed is nothing short of cruel and absolutely unacceptable. Our investigative team is working diligently to identify every individual involved in causing harm." The fight spreading on social media. State lawmaker Cecil Thomas, who represents parts of Cincinnati, saying it's unacceptable under any standard, and those involved should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. Therefore, as your state representative, I trust that there will be a full and complete investigation of this incident by the Cincinnati Police Department and to bring charges against all involved. And the president of the union representing officers calling the violence disgusting, saying what's equally disgusting is those who chose to watch and record instead of calling 911, attempting to defuse the situation or render aid. I have full faith in the Central Business Section investigators. They will make arrests in the near future. It will then be the responsibility of the court system to hold these violent thugs accountable. And thousands of people attended Cincinnati Music Fest last night. The chief of police said this fight is not connected to Cincy Music Fest in any way. Police have not announced any arrests yet. Live outside District 1 headquarters, Sean McKinnon, WLWT News 5.
Okay, this is going on. Did anybody contemplate when it was happening the long-term impact of the BLM fracasses that were going on around the country, the billions of dollars in property that was destroyed by arson, the huge loss of business, loss of life, injuries that were suffered by sundry and many that were promoted by a certain political party when they tried to encourage this stuff. And then we find out that the righteous cause had devolved into some hustlers getting the funding to buy mansions and estates in Los Angeles at very high prices, hire relatives and friends. So, yeah, what do you expect when you say it's okay and you start encouraging it? And you have Maxine Waters, Cory Booker's and such like going around the country saying that people should deface cars and break windows in businesses if the wrong political or campaign posters are exhibited. What do you expect is going to happen when we glorify this dysfunction through our entertainment media? So it's a natural consequence. You tell people it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. This is the way to be hip. This is the way to be cool. This is the way to do what you, and how you do it, it takes.
So JD Vance, he was in Ohio today, and the reporter asked him, about it. and I want to play what he had to say. And his brother, well, half brother, is actually running, I believe, for mayor of Cincinnati, Ohio. But this is what JD Vance had to say.
There was a group of people who attacked a couple folks on the street in Cincinnati. Senator Bernie Moreno, some others have spoken out about it, have been critical of it.
Okay, yes. So what I saw, and I haven't seen the full context, but what I saw is a mob of lawless thugs beating up on an innocent person, and it's disgusting. And I hope every single one of those people who engage in violence is prosecuted to the full extent of the law. And they will be. They will be so long as law enforcement in the state of Ohio takes their job seriously. I know Dave Yost cares a lot about these things. But yeah, I actually, you're right. Bernie did send me a clip of this, and we talked a little bit about it. I don't know the full context. I don't know how the fight started. But the one part that I saw that was really gruesome is you had a grown man who sucker punched a middle-aged woman. And where I come from, at least, when you have a grown man who sucker punches a middle-aged woman, that person ought to go to jail for a very long time. And frankly, he's lucky there weren't some better people around, because they would have handled it themselves. But if they're not going to handle it, the cops in Cincinnati, the law enforcement, you've got to prosecute people. We've had way too much lawlessness on the streets of great American cities. How many of you all have wanted to go to downtown Akron or downtown Canton or downtown Columbus for a meal, but you're worried because the local authorities in these big cities have allowed lawlessness to run wild? We have got to make great American cities safe again for families and children. If you want to take your wife or your children out for a meal, you shouldn't be worried about street violence. And the only way to destroy that street violence is to take the thugs who engage in that violence and throw their asses in prison.
Well said. But you know something? See, it starts insidiously. What did we hear from the chief of police? This started over, quote, a verbal altercation, unquote. Look up altercation and see what it means. So you start diffusing the term, which infers something very harsh is going on, and you hook it up with people having an argument. So you inure them to the sense of a real altercation developed. When you have an altercation, you have fists thrown, grapplings occur, people get kicked, punched, that kind of thing. And then they say, well, you can argue in a heated fashion, that becomes an altercation. It's not. But that misuse of terminology starts spreading even to people who ought to know better. So we get inured to the idea of altercation. And when the reality escapes us, we start putting in that what a real altercation is. That becomes acceptable, and this law and order breakdown occurs. Now, I'm assuming from what the context is, this occurred this weekend, but you can't always be sure. Remember last week when they had that thing about the motorist in Florida, according to Ben Crump, getting racistly mistreated? And then when we see all of the video on it, and in fact, I think you were on a moot grand jury about it. When you see the whole video, it doesn't look like it was in the media or as it was presented in the media. Additionally, we don't hear that this took place in March, not just a few days before. And we don't hear that the person is hollering about his rights were violated, having already pled guilty to resisting arrest. And what was it? Driving on a suspended license and failing to have adequate insurance for his vehicle. And what did we see when we saw the complete set of video? He jumps out the car. The cop says, sir, may I see your license, registration, and proof of insurance? And the guy jumps back in the car, slams the door, and locks it. And then call your supervisor. We wind up seeing the supervisor standing to the right side of the car, and he's saying, what happened? Well, you're going to have to come on out. And the supervisor tells the other cop, the first on the scene, break the window, because he's warned him 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 times, sir, you're going to have to step out of the vehicle. So you can't have law enforcement where you have to beg someone and persuade them to follow the law or the orders. You
Well, here's the
know,
thing too that I noticed because and other people were saying there were a lot of people standing around filming it with their cameras, and it's like we have a big trend, of people doing that now. Like that's what society has come to. When you see something like this happens, everybody is filming it instead of trying to diffuse or call the cops. No one didn't call the cops because they were filming it. Now, and then people are inserting race into it because it was, I guess it was an altercation with some verbal words between this white man and a black guy, and people were standing around them. We don't know what was said, but the white guy smacked the black guy first, and then this other guy came in, and that's when the fight started. But nobody tried to break it up. No one didn't call the cops. That's when everybody put out their phones. And I believe the woman, the middle-aged white woman that was knocked out, I don't know. I think maybe she was with the white guy because she jumped in, I guess, trying to help defend. And I'm sorry, as a woman, you don't jump in a fight with a whole bunch of men. But the black guy knocked her out. And so, which was uncalled for. But see, sometimes, I guess with black people in this type of situation, if you're arguing with a white person or other, then it becomes a race thing with the racial historical thing we have in this country. But when you touch somebody, you need to expect what's going to happen next. Like, keep your hands to yourself. But at the same time, it's like you smacked that man first. And then somebody came in and whooped your ass, and then he got jumped. So yeah, everybody is going to have charges pressed against them. And I just look at it, this may sound simple, but it should have been between two men. Even after the hit, the fight should have been between two men, not a whole bunch of men and even some women jumping on one person. So now when the cops go through all that page, go through all the films and stuff, and they're going to find out who each and every person was, you're going to get arrested. And it reminds you, remember I think it was last summer or 2 summers ago with the Alabama Brawl.
mm-hmm.
So so they actually had charges, everyone, white, black, everybody, as some people had charges against them, some were dropped or whatever, but it's the same thing. And what did people do? They put out their cameras to record it instead of trying to defuse the situation. And I have a big problem with that. Like, this is what we do as a society.
Did you see the opposite thing that occurred at the Walmart a few days ago?
Was it a stabbing or shooting?
He's stabbing.
Yeah.
White guy went crazy, started stabbing and cutting people in the Walmart. A former Marine who was a black guy pulled out his pistol, stopped him, didn't shoot him, but stopped him. And the rest of the bystanders wrestled him into submission until the police got there. See, that's a whole different order of business. But this group that Sharpton represents, in terms of his tone and attitude, they are totally against that. They, I guess, would rather have a tragedy occur so they can make a point than have somebody actually act like a responsible citizen. So this guy was a hero. He stopped it.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, too late to save quite a number of people from getting wounded, but he didn't bring out his cell phone. He brought out his firearm. And he took the chance on being prosecuted for that because something more important was at stake, the welfare of his fellow citizens. So I suppose that's a racial incident because it was black on white, but in reverse of the usual way it goes down,
Right. And that's what I'm saying. So again, we don't know why the two men were arguing. One was white, one was black, but that white guy hit that black guy, and then all the black people jumped in and jumped him. And to me, it's like, okay, why did all the black people jump the one guy? Why couldn't you just let the one guy fight him?
Yeah, in other words, yeah, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah. So
in other words, man on man, fist fight used to be the thing. People would just form a circle. Matter of fact, I was in Sydney, Australia, and I'd been there 3 days. The executive producer for the show I had was from Sydney, And we're walking with him through the red light district. So we get to this circle of constables, and what are they doing? They formed a circle, and one of them is refereeing a fist fight between two guys. And when they get through, they broke it up and said, hey, we'll call the taxi. You won, you buy the beer. Everybody shake hands. So you see, there's that kind of difference in terms of manliness, masculinity, and this thing about toxic masculinity, emasculation. And the average male today, you know, like having a fist fight with somebody else one-on-one, that just never occurs to anybody. So what winds up happening is some people get to vent their frustration and aggression and do the same thing to somebody else. I guess that's two wrongs make the right or something like that. So they gang up, jump somebody, and instead of letting the two men battle it out. You know, it's just unmanly. But that's the new way.
Right. And the new way is a major problem. So listen, you know, it was unnecessary, but people gotta keep your hands to yourself. I don't care if you're a man, a woman, child, keep your hands to yourself. I don't know why that white man felt comfortable smacking a black guy. Maybe he thought that if something were to go down, it would be between them two. You know, who knows? But sometimes when you, especially if you're surrounded by black people and that happens, black people are going to get gaslit by that.
Yeah, and what was the old time way amongst white folk? Sir, you have insulted me. You take your glove or your gauntlet or your hand and slap the guy across the face. I challenge you to a duel. When your seconds met and arranged it so it was man on man. Or Legree, the town ain't big enough for both of us. High noon at the bar, you know, at Dodge City. So what happened to the man thing?
Right, because if you slap me, I'm slapping your back, or we're gonna be fighting. But you know, hopefully in a man slapping me because I can't beat a man. But you know, but still, like, just people need to keep their hands to themselves. But what I'm starting to see now in society is the adults are acting like they're retarded or like they're children.
Well, that's what happened with that traffic stop thing in Florida. Mm-hmm. The children are raised by parents in a very indulgent fashion. You don't give absolute orders to your children. Don't do that, boy. Girl, you better stop that. You have to persuade them. I don't feel like it. Well, please, you're upsetting mama because so and so. See, and they get the idea that when they confront authority, they can talk their way out of it, or, well, nothing wrong with that, but they get the idea somebody's supposed to persuade them and nobody can tell me what to do. Yes, they can. Mm-hmm. And they've got the gun on the hip, the taser, and some other things.
Let me ask you this question, because if somebody slap you, because in Ohio is open carry, but if somebody slap you and you have a gun on you, can you shoot them in self-defense?
No, hell no. That's escalation of force way beyond. You'll get a homicide charge. Okay. See, in other words, to escalate the type of force, you have to be either very much physically overmatched, or there's a great age or infirmity problem in there, or there's a gender problem. It's a man against a woman. And see, some of this stuff that they have on entertainment venues about women being the physical equal of men, it just doesn't work that way. And see, women believe it and get in there and put themselves in situations where they get jacked up. It's like, why'd you do that? And see, I've been looking at Star Trek Generations. I was binging on it. And everything in there, the women are in charge, and they've got the women routinely beating up on the guys. I mean, where they're all out physical combat, but the women win. And I said, see, that's just not appropriate. It had in there about some brilliant, not quite sure what his gender or its gender is. He wants special pronouns. They've got at least 2 couples into the rainbow thing in there. And they've got men lip kissing and passionately kissing each other, and women doing that with each other, and then this pronoun thing, and then the women just whip ass all over the place. And it's like, what kind of message is that to send to society? It doesn't work
Well, I have
that
another
way.
question. So what if, like, it's a man or a woman, and that man smacks a woman, they don't know each other, you know, like this incident, he smacks a woman, she just defends herself and tries to, you know, hit him back or whatever. But of course, he's a man, so he's overpowering her. And let's say he starts whooping on her ass, and she pulls out her gun to shoot because she's getting plummeted. Is that just
Well, no, here's what the thing. Before you can use deadly force, you have to be in jeopardy of suffering serious bodily harm or serious bodily injury, however you word it, or death. So if what the person's doing to you is not reasonably likely to produce your death or injury associated with trying to kill you, you're not entitled to use deadly force. You can only use deadly force to resist an attack where you have a reasonable belief that you are about to suffer death or very serious injury. Just getting a bloody nose or a busted lip is not sufficient to kill somebody. You take that and you sue them for damages.
Okay. And in this Cincinnati case, the white guy who slapped the black guy first, but the white guy ended up getting jumped. Can he sue those people that jumped him, or will the judge say no because you actually hit the guy first?
It becomes what in law is known as a common affray, AFFRAY. In other words, humanity, when it gathers in a bar, club, pub, or whatever it may be, out in the woods, it may develop that men start having a non-lethal combat with each other. It's called an affray or an affray. Now, there are civil damages, but it's not viewed as a serious thing. See, I grew up watching grown men have fist fights on the sidewalk.
Yeah.